Welcome to Dose with Grace. I hope you're doing well and taking very good care of yourselves. पुरुषोत्तम मास की आप सबको हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं. A very happy Purushottam month to all of you. To all those who are already aware, I'm sure you're doing your own within your own capacity and in your own way that suits you the most. Naam Jap, Puja, Kirtan, and remembrance of God. And for those who don't know, Purushottam Mass is a very, very holy month dedicated to divine observance, divine prayers, any form of inner connection with divine. It is starting from 17th of May and it continues up to 15th of June in this year. So it's just begun. If you have not yet started, you can begin your journey now. The simplest thing is to remember the name of God. Whichever God you feel affinity towards, whichever God reminds you of your connection with divine, you can take that name and that is called Naam Jap. Morning and evening before leaving for your work, before you retire to bed, you can remember God's name once again. And throughout the day also, dedicate all your work to God. This is the simplest way we can observe in this month connection and remembrance of the divine in every moment of our lives. Today, this video is specially dedicated to a lot of observation that I'm sure you have also made in the changing environment around us that we get to hear. Well, few of my very close associates have also made these kind of remarks that have made me somewhere inspired this making of this video as well. So I'm grateful to them for being very transparent and open and sharing their thoughts without any reservations. However, after listening to them, I have felt the same around me when I look back at my stay, whether in Singapore or in India or in any other places that I've been to. Aggression in words and actions. Not knowing what is right and wrong. Or rather, let me put it this way. My right is the right. How do we know what is right and what is wrong? And right and wrong is so subjective. These kind of statements have created more devalued life than a better life for us. Now let us look at from the perspective of our children. According to Adhyatma, which is knowing ourselves, we all are divine beings, and therefore there is a certain decorum with which we are supposed to live and conduct ourselves. But the moment we use this phrase, truth is so subjective, your truth and my truth may not match, and hence we must exercise and do what we please, is the reason why we see that there is so much degradation of values in our society today. To name the few white elephants that none of us want to really address, but we are very aware that exist in our society, are: number one, live-in relations between almost all the youngsters in places where they leave their homes to work in a different city or a different country, having this aspect of having a relation, then breaking it, and then getting into another relationship, extramarital affairs, aggression in words and actions, hurting someone's feelings, either through words, actions, or through, sometimes in more aggressive forms, actions, cheating, stealing in a smaller manner in day-to-day activities through manipulation, or which is called being clever, or in larger scales of things in bigger businesses, or in case of providing low quality while charging higher price in terms of commodity, value, or service. So all of these things are suddenly, not suddenly, but have become so visibly prevalent around us. We see this not around us, we see it within our families, we see it within our own homes, but we are so become normal to it. That's why I'm saying that very, very close associates remarks have really been an inspiration for this video. Now, this brings to a very fundamental understanding of what is buddhi and what is vivek. Today, with the prevalence of well economic means, both parents earning, children are provided with the best of education. They are rather less in number. Earlier, there used to be 3 or 4 or maybe more children per family, but today there are hardly, very few families have 2. They've reduced to just a single child families, if maximum 2, and very, very extremely rare circumstances 3. So, and 2 people earning in the family, it has become a very materialistic approach to raising a child, where the emphasis is mostly on what you can do to ultimately lead to profit. Even giving education to a child is considered to be an investment. Even going out of home is considered to be not a source of learning and serving the world, but a source of making profits so that we can have more and more valuable and high profile things in our life. And that is what we are inculcating in our children. And over the period of time, the disconnection from the knowledge, the true knowledge, has resulted in parents having no knowledge to inculcate in their children, and hence this generation is the generation of live-ins, extramarital affairs, having aggression, verbal as well as physical aggression in relationships, cheating and stealing, having no respect or dignity for each other. Rather, comparison and trying to show yourself as a better person under all circumstances. Now, this pain of our society has got little to do with our children. It has got more to do with us as parents. And when I say this generation, I'm talking about my generation. And maybe those who are not yet married, not the children that who are like 10, 15 years old. They are the, they are the byproducts of what we have lost. And therefore, they are also losing their culture. I'm not saying that in a generation which was before us, everyone was cultured. Most of us have also not got the value system where every evening there was a scripture being discussed, there was a moral lesson or a moral value being elaborately explained. There was less reward or appreciation shown for higher marks, and but rather for higher effort. So end of the day, if only effort is valued when it is reciprocated with a reward, we are going against our own scriptures. Because like in Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna himself says, you have the right to action, you have the right to doing your action, but you have no right to the fruits or rewards of your action. That is something that is through divine divine decision, because it takes into account lot of other things, our prarabdha karma, our sense of when we have to repay our past karmas, and our efforts in the current times. But if all the time results are valued over efforts, then this is what we are inculcating in the next generation. Inculcating this thing that truth is very subjective is also a very convenient philosophy that our generation has adopted, and because of which, unfortunately, our next generation is getting this poison directly from their own parents. Very, very rarely our parents, people of our generation or maybe a generation before, have actually read our scriptures and have the knowledge between what is right and what is not right, what is truth and what is illusion. And hence, since that value system has not been given, rather the value system of more materialistic gain, more name, fame, reputation, that has been given more prevalence at any cost. Therefore, this generation, and unfortunately, this generation has completely devalued itself, has lost the sense of what is the truth and what isn't, and hence their next generation is unfortunately just confused, perplexed, and are getting into all of these vices as a result of what it will anyway lead to. So, instead of blaming the children or instead of correcting the parents, it is upon us to stop this generational poison at us. Instead of wanting someone else to help you out, it is better that you take the action which is the right action, and which is to go back to our scriptures and fully understand, because scriptures are not based on a certain situation or a certain person's perspective. Scriptures speak the truth. They are time tested, and over the period of time, they stand true. Now, you may question that, but how do we use that in our day-to-day lives? Well, let me give you one example. Vidya dadati vinyam. This is the phrase from our scriptures, which means that once you get education, you become humbler, you become more aware, and that should become a nature. But today, what do we see? The higher educated the people are, they have become more egoistic, more condescending, more showing to others, look, because of my education and my status and my name and my reputation, my word weighs more than you. My understanding is better. My suggestion must be more valued than your suggestion just because you have less education or less type of education. I'm in sciences and you're in arts. We are dividing people even in the branches of education. And that is why our children are becoming more and more aggressive. The moment they crack a certain exam, the moment they make something, more than children, the parents themselves become very egoistic. Parents of a doctor have a different sense of ego in them than parent of a child who is doing music or arts. Either they are continuously justifying why it is such an important branch to also diversify into, and whereas the parent of a doctor or a parent of a science student or a physicist or something in engineering, they almost take it for granted that they will be respected in society regardless of whether their child is actually capable of serving the society through their knowledge. And that may not actually happen because the child has been fed the poison of ego. The child has been fed this knowledge from the parents itself that this is already a very superior level of being you are. So where is the serving? Where is the vinya? Vidya dadati vinya is getting nullified here in this environment. Now here is where the real knowledge of Adhyatma helps. That is the only way we can rescue ourselves from this poison, and therefore, by rescuing ourselves, we can help this generational trauma being propagated further. Where there is no Vinay, Vivek, there is no culture. Now, there is a difference between buddhi and vivek. What is buddhi? Buddhi is something, buddhi or intelligence is something that comes through our three modes of nature. It comes through the three modes of nature. When you're in your sattvic mode, your buddhi may decide or tell you to think of some things that are good, righteous. But when you're in rajasic mode, your buddhi will trigger you or influence you towards material gain, towards upmanship, towards ego, towards aggression. And when you're in tamasic mode, your buddhi will only be talking to you about going in the direction of ignorance, complete sense of failure of what is right and wrong, and making absolutely wrong judgments. So now, how is having a sharper buddhi a better solution? But through knowledge that we gain in the material world, the only thing that is getting sharpened is our buddhi. Higher marks, higher credentials, better degrees is only increasing your buddhi. It is not increasing your vivek. And what is vivek? Vivek is the ability to decide between sat and asat. What is true and what is illusion is what is vivek and not buddhi. And vivek is not found in material books. It is not found in math, science, English, biology, chemistry, physics. No, it is those things sharpen your buddhi. But to sharpen your vivek, this knowledge of material world is basically used to learn the Adhyatmic world, to read our scriptures, to have a right association, satsang, the true association through which our mind is removed from the darkness and we can see through the light of these knowledge from the scriptures what is true and what is not true, what is correct and what is not correct, what is maya and what is the true nectar of the real knowledge from our scriptures. Like I said, buddhi, the differentiation between buddhi and vivek it is, buddhi is inspired through three modes of nature, whereas vivek is inspired through shastras, are time-tested scriptures which only reveal truth. बुद्धि माया से प्रेरित त्रिगुण के अंतर्गत आती है, जबकि विवेक सार और असार का निर्णय करने वाली शक्ति है जो हमें केवल शास्त्रों से मिलती है. One who decides under the influence of Maya, under the influence of three modes of nature, is called Buddhiman. But one who transcends this Maya and decides between truth and illusion, rather the distilled truth and the distilled illusion or myth, is called operating from Vivek. Now, how do we develop this Vivek? Buddhi, everybody is now only talking about it, how intelligent we are, how to become more intelligent, but how to improve, how to even ignite that Vivek. Vivek is not increased, it's just awakened. It's already there because it is not part of our outer nature, it is the part of who we truly are. Vivek is the part of our real Atma. How do we awaken the Vivek? Only through satsang, right association, true association, or through either listening or reading to our scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, or listening to or reading all the granths, all the books written by our age-old sages or devotees of highest order like Sri Tulsidas ji or Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji, Paramahansa Yogananda. Becoming more inward, sitting silent. The most easiest way to awaken your Vivek is to do Nam Jap. That is why in the beginning of the video, I was requesting you all in this month, in this very pious month, for those who don't know the Mahima or the glory of this month, please make sure it is very easily available since we all are all the time on our phones. Go to YouTube and find out what is Purushottam Mas, and you will realize how important, even if you have not been into spiritual practice for the entire whole year, but if in this month you start it, you will realize the true nectar of happiness, peace, and you will be able to awaken your Vivek. And then you will realize that 90% of the things that gave you pleasure and happiness will cease to do, because there is no true happiness. There is a never-ending satiation towards finding pleasures from outside. There is never, and it is not something that I'm saying that I'm reading from somewhere or I'm listening to others. It's a self-realized truth. No amount of outer gratification can ever give you happiness, peace, or sense of well-being, or sense of security. It is the inner peace. It is the inner sense of security. It is the inner sense of well-being that is awakened when your Vivek is awakened. And there is no way other than reading our scriptures. There is no other way, no matter how many therapies you can do, no matter how many people you can consult, no matter how many life coaches you will involve into showing you the guidance, unless you decide to change your perspective from, instead of increasing your buddhi, to increasing your Vivek, you will not be able to find the nectar of happiness, joy, truth, which is all Sat Chit Anand within yourself. It is just within yourself. It is the easiest way to reach. But if we keep looking outside through various modalities that so many people are exploiting these days, we will reach nowhere. We will spend forever our lives, we'll be wasting time, and we'll be more worrisome is the fact that we are going to be prolonging that that ability to stop this poison at this generation itself. Before we harm our next generation even more, please stop taking any other source to improve your buddhi. There is already so much buddhi we have awakened. Now let's work towards awakening Vivek, the ability to know what is true and what is not true, and discard what is not true. Not focus on it. Focus on finding who we truly are. Focus on improving our inner well-being, our inner sense of security, and stop this rat race of workmanship, trying to prove how better I am from the other person, or trying to put others down in the name of education, wealth, assets, or even as little and belittling thing as how nice I am or how well my children are doing. Please stop these comparisons. But all this will only happen when Bhagavad Buddhi, which is called Vivek, the divine understanding, awakens within you. And that cannot awaken unless we start following the very basic and a very fundamental method of going back to our scriptures. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, Purushottam Yoga, is the first place you can go to. Even simpler is to start the Nam Jap. Nam Jap is calling the name of God. We can do it in 3 ways. We can say it like this, outwards, Ram, Ram, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Narayan, Narayan. Or we can say it within our mouth like this. or with much longer practice, we can say it without movement of even our lips, in our mind, focusing on the name through our inward eye, and then forever in any activity we do, whether you're cooking, whether you're walking, whether you're going towards your office, whether you're attending school, whenever you're not actively speaking or doing something where you have to intake input, you can actually continue your Nam Jap. And that's the simplest way and the most powerful way to reach divine and to awaken your Vivek. कलयुग केवल नाम अधारा, जपत जपत नर उतरे तारा. Kalyug, in this yuga, the only way to take the route directly towards God and to reach divine, to awaken your divine consciousness, is to take the name of God, Nam Jap. And it is so simple. In our Shastras, in our scriptures, it is clearly written. You can do Nam Jap in any condition, whether you've taken bath or you've not taken bath. Wherever you are, whether you are in a clean place or an unclean place, whether you're doing some activity or you're not doing activity. It is not like mantra jap, where you have to take a bath, sit in a certain position, hold the mala, and not look at any other source, but focus on the mantra. Whereas in Nam Jap, you can be doing any household work. You can be traveling towards your office. You can be even having a walk, and you can still continue to do Nam Jap. It is valid and the most easiest way to connect with your divine inside. I hope this helps. This was something very, very important to share. And in this month of Purushottam Mas, I hope this awakens or triggers your journey towards Nam Jap, sitting and reading Bhagavad Gita, if not the whole Bhagavad Gita, but at least chapter 15, Purushottam Yoga. Read it, maybe one shloka a day, but ensure that you read it. And most important is Bhagavad Smaran. In any form, whichever form of God pleases you, remember that form of God and try to connect yourself with the God. And then you will realize over a period of time how your own thoughts will get cleansed, and then you'll never be able to repeat this phrase or agree with this phrase that truth is subjective. Truth is not subjective. Truth is truth. And more our society moves towards truth, the more our society will move towards Sat, Chit and Anand. Where there is no truth, there is no consciousness, and where there is no consciousness, there is no Ananda. That is why we are all suffering. So follow the trail back, follow the truth, read the scriptures, read Bhagavad Gita chapter 15 and do Nam Jap. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.